Hey everybody, Tony D and Little Joan here, and today's last hot take. Smash like and subscribe. Thank you for smash liking and subscribing. Getting a lot of new subscribers, so please share the wealth. If you like my videos, if you like Little Joan and want to see her get more treats, right, Little Joan? Please share the video, pass around the link on social media, places like Reddit, Facebook, Minds. I've got links in the descriptions, not just to my books, but all my social media. You can follow me on Parler as well as Twitter. But lots going on. Lots going on here. Trump's surprise victory is in the offing, and here are the 10 tea leaves pointing to it from Fox News. We'll get to that in a minute, but the biggest thing is people trying to rally against the Biden laptop stuff. And even on Reddit, which should be Read It. Commie land. They should just call it Commie It. They don't want to believe this, but and look at the guys who support him, Clapper and Brenner, two of the biggest liars on God's green earth, in my view. These two guys have both been caught in lies. Brennan was the head of the CIA, right? He was the CIA. I forgot. Clapper, National Intelligence. These guys are desperate to smear the whole Biden thing as a Russian disinformation program, because where their money is, in my view, this is the theory, these guys are globalists. Their money's in other countries, not in Russia, which would be new. If we cut a peace deal with them, trade would open up. These guys got their money in other countries, especially places like China, and they don't want that to stop. They don't want it. I don't know why they don't just move their money, but these guys are determined to crush Russia instead of China for some reason. And I think partly they're playing right into China's hands. I mean, if we teamed up with Russia, China would just get steamrolled. And China is a real threat because it's a communist regime. The Russians are not that big of a threat. They're really not. They're a federation. Their biggest threat is they're going to finally get on board with full-blown capitalism and shoot right past us. But that would be better than the Chinese shooting right past us. If you had to pick one country to run things after us, China would be the last on the list, probably next to last behind North Korea. Actually, no, dead last, because at least the North Koreans would be incompetent and we could overthrow them. The Chinese, they're a scary bunch. The Russians aren't that scary. It's like New York in the 70s scary over there. And kind of like New York now. But if you're saying that the Hunter Biden emails are Russian disinformation, you have to believe that the Russians put a bunch of phony emails into a laptop, got it to a guy in Delaware, hoping that he would turn it into the FBI and Rudy Giuliani, that two of the guys on the email chain would cop to it, and a bunch of other things that make no sense. Hunter's own lawyer asked for the laptop back. It's pretty damning evidence that he owns the laptop. Because it's like one rich guy asking another rich guy, hey, can you do us a solid? Give us a laptop back? You don't want to embarrass the vice president, right? Also in Breitbart, Biden defectors' emails reveal Hunter's associates viewed direct pipeline to administration as currency. Well, of course it is. And two of Hunter's business associates have now confirmed the emails because they're both in jail doing time probably to cover these guys. And now they're like, well, I'm doing time here. Where's my pardon? I want to get out. But they're not out. And when you're in jail, you're going to sell people out. Hunter Biden's business associates spoke candidly in emails about Hunter Biden's role in the business, particularly as it related to foreign ventures, apparently viewing the Biden name as a form of currency and bragging that they had a direct pipeline to the Obama-Biden administration. In another email, Hunter Biden's associates touted Hunter's access to the White House and contrasted his willingness to take on risk with that of Chris Hines, then Secretary of State John Kerry's stepson and a close friend of Biden and Archer, who was uncomfortable with some of their potential partnerships. In October 2013, Hunter Biden's associates, including Devon Archer, discussed one of the corporate vehicles would be appropriate for the new deal they were working on. Archer noted they needed to use a Rosemont Seneca SPV, also known as a special purpose vehicle, because Rosemont Capital was too close to the Hines family and because using an SPV could bring Hunter into the mix. Archer explained his desire to leverage Hunter more in a way that didn't involve Hines, who Archer called much more risk-averse. So John Kerry's got his grubby mitts on this stuff, too. Lord knows what's going to come out about him. You know, young John Kerry would have been a great president. Old John Kerry is about as corrupt as Biden, in my view. Here's something from the New York Post. These guys are rocking it. Photos show Joe Biden meeting and Hunter's alleged business partner from Kazakhstan. It looks like Borat's uncle. A new photograph has emerged of... Criminies, I got to reload this page. A new photograph has emerged of Democratic presidential nominee Joe Biden posing with Hunter Biden and Pineys Rajashlev, a Kazakh oligarch who reportedly worked with the former VP's scandal-scarred son. The snap, first published by a Kazakhstani anti-corruption website in 2019, follows last week's bombshell post-expose detailing Hunter Biden's overseas business dealings and a report claiming Rajashlev paid the Biden scion to go between and broker U.S. investments. So, come on. Come on. These guys are trying to make money. Biden went from a few $100,000 in terms of his worth, this is Joe Biden, to $17 million after, 7 months after he got out. These guys are corrupt. They're selling influence, and then they're cashing in when they get out of office. Now, if Joe had retired, people probably wouldn't be digging into this. But the dummy's as greedy as F. Greedy as F. You could have retired, Joe. Spent time with your grandkids. How long do you expect to live, for crying out loud? But no, you gotta keep going. So you deserve what you get there, Biden. But here are the 10 tea leaves pointing to a Trump victory, according to Fox News and Tom Del Beccaro. Number 1, Pennsylvania voter registration. It's up. It's way up in Pennsylvania. Florida, too. In 2016, Pennsylvania and its 20 electoral college votes were key to President Trump's victory. He won Pennsylvania by a slim 44,292 votes out of nearly 6 million. That November, the Democrat had nearly a 900,000 voter registration advantage over Republicans. That number is down to 700,000 advantage and has narrowed by 100,000 in the last year. So he's going into Pennsylvania, Trump is, with a better advantage. Florida. Democrats held a nearly 700,000 voter registration advantage, and Barack Obama carried the state by 200,000 votes or so. By 2012, that advantage slipped to about 500,000 registrations. Obama won there by 74,000 votes. In 2016, Democrats had a 300 and some odd thousand registration advantage. Trump carried the state by 112,000 votes. Now the Democratic voter registration advantage is down nearly 200,000 to just 130,000 lead. It's a historic low. Trump's going to crush Florida. It's a lock. And you can thank Bernie Sanders for that one, Bernie fans, you idiots. Latinos for Trump. Trump could well have a historic level of support from Latino voters in 2020. In Florida, the NBC Marist poll had Trump leading amongst Latinos 50-46 over Biden. Whereas in 2016, Hillary won amongst the Latinos 62-35. That would be a 15% swing towards Trump if it held up on Election Day. Totally is. I've seen the Latino music videos and the parades. They're all on board on the Trump train. African Americans on Trump, and this is a big one that I talked about in another video. In September, according to polling by Rasmussen, Trump's approval rating among African Americans reached 45%. Now, Rasmussen, I think, tends to favor Trump, so that's a little high. Keep in mind that President Trump only received 8% of the black vote in 2016. If Trump received just 16% the black vote this November, let alone even a higher number, that would all but secure states like Michigan for Trump. He's probably rocking 20-25%. Legit. And maybe even more. Who knows? The sky's the limit. Biden, everything he's done has alienated voters. The only people screaming Trump is a racist are the media and the people who believe that. And that stupid quote they keep trotting out and saying that, oh, he said this. When you look into it, you realize he's taken out of context. I don't have to explain it to you. Scott Adams explains it on his Twitter if you want to see that, but I'm not going through that. But Trump is not a racist. Biden, kind of a racist guy in my view, if you look at some of his old videos and his recent stuff. And plus, he's just losing it. So, Biden tax increaser. Sure, this is going to kill him. Candidates who promise tax increases or have a history of supporting tax increases tend to lose versus those pushing tax cuts. Well, no kidding. And not only that, Biden brags about it. Most other Democrats are smart enough to say, well, we're going to move some money and call it a financial adjustment or something. No, he flat out states it's going to be a tax increase. So, total advantage to Trump. Enthusiasm matters. Trump's got that in spades. As the New York Post reported, just 46% of Biden voters in a recent poll said they strongly support him, compared to 66% of the Trump base. That's a 20-point gap, and you have to factor in that Trump supporters don't like polls. Conservatives don't like polls. They think they're skewed, and they think they're skewed even more, so good luck. In 2016, Trump only had a 13-point gap over Hillary. That increase of 7% bodes well for Trump, not Biden. Early voting in Michigan, Wisconsin, and Ohio. National polling from Pew Research indicates that 55% of voters who plan to cast their ballots in person before Election Day support Biden, compared to 40% who support Trump. I don't know how that helps Trump. This is supposed to be a list that helps Trump. 55 to 40. That's still pretty good, though, I guess. Oh, wait, here. However, in the key battleground states of Michigan and Ohio and Wisconsin, the early voting indicates registered Republicans are returning ballots at about the same rate as registered Democrats. The parties are even in Michigan. Democrats up 2% in Wisconsin, and Republicans up 2% in Ohio. Tim Pool just did a video about that, and I heard Ohio, he's up much more. So I think Ohio's a lock anyway. Michigan, Governor Whitmer, could she be a bigger advertisement for Trump? Number 8, American voters are more satisfied in 2020 than they were in 2016. Yeah, a lot of them are. New Gallup poll shows that 56% of Americans say they're better off now than they were 4 years ago. That could well be telling in this case, given just 4 years ago marked the end of Biden's vice presidency. Would voters return to Biden if they are happier now than when he was in office? Good question. Party identification. According to Gallup, at the end of September, when the polling firm asked voters this question, in politics as of today, do you consider yourself a Republican or Democrat or an independent? The answer came back as follows. 28% said Republican, 27% said Democrats, 42% said independent. That is meaningful because many of the polls give Biden the lead and appear to be sampling more Democrats than Republicans. So what I always said, that's how they game the polls. They just ask Democrats. And then they get the results they want. This is all up from 2016. Democrats were at 32%, up 32% to 27%. But as we know, Trump still won. So they're just crushing it in every way. The GOP. Voters think that Trump will win. The Trump era, there's been a lot of talk about whether Trump supporters feel free to tell posters that they're supporting the president's re-election. Some experts point to the polls asking voters who they believe will win the election as a truer indication of candidate support. Once again, this bodes well for the president. Gallup poll shows only 40% of Americans think Biden will win. 56% predict a Trump victory. I'm predicting a Trump landslide, GOP landslide, down ballot. People are pissed at the Democrats. Trump is running against the media and the Democratic Party, not Biden. Biden is just one of many. And, that feeds into the ideology of the extreme left. They're collectivists. So Trump is running against the mob, essentially. And I think he's going to win. And certainly these Biden revelations don't help. Everybody supporting Biden is an a-hole in Washington. Brenner and Clapper, come on. Just go out and vote. The only thing that could hurt Trump is if people get too complacent and they don't vote. It's going to be record turnout. It's going to be a lot of votes lost. So you got to be out there and you got to vote. Whether you're in a Democratic state like mine where you got to fill out paper, or whether you can go to the polls if you can. Vote.